Thank you for tuning into a new episode of the Wrestling Independent. And I'm going to say today we have someone who is trying to become the best of the best. Coming out of CZW's dojo is Vinny Talotta. Now, CZW has a long and storied history of having some of the best, some of the most famous, some of the most boom wrestlers that have come through their doors. Adam Cole, John Moxley. Vinny Talotta wants to be the next person that comes out of CZW and makes you go, oh my God, I got to see this guy. So stay tuned as we find out what's been the 4-year journey to Vinny Talotta.
None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Independent, everyone. My name is Mike, and today we have on an up-and-comer in the wrestling world, someone who is just starting to get, well, not just starting to get his toes wet. Vinny Talotta. Vinny, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Now you're brought to us by CZW Combat Zone Wrestling. From what I know, you've done your training there. Is that correct? Okay, so you've done your training there.
Majority of it, yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of go back to the beginning. What got a young Vinny into wrestling? What's like your first memories of it?
So my first memories of wrestling, I think I was around 8 to 10, that age range, and my cousin was really into it. And he had the old video games, and I would go over to his house and we would play the games, and that's kind of what got me into it. Before that, I've never really watched wrestling, and then once I got to his house, he had all the figures, and something drew me to it, and that actually led me to start watching Raw that that week. And
do you remember what the video game was?
I don't. I do remember the Raw, though, a little bit. For some reason, I remember it was a tournament, and I think it was some sort of King of the Ring type thing. And I just remember watching it, and just, like, from right there, I knew that's what I wanted to do. Like, I was super encapsulated with everything they were doing. I didn't know who a lot of people were. At that point, I kind of just knew John Cena, like Jeff Hardy, Rey Mysterio, like those guys. Yeah. And I didn't really learn who everybody else was, but I was still super into it.
What about it was the thing that captured your eye?
I think from that age, it was kind of the showmanship and the agility and like ability of everybody just in there. It was really like larger than life at that age.
And when you're talking, especially that era of wrestling, that's really, from what it sounds like, this stage where everything kind of was going to the next level. Mm-hmm. When you had your Cena and your Mysterio and your Hardy. So who was the first person you started rooting for that you remember?
So I had three. The three main guys were Rey Mysterio, The Undertaker, and John Cena.
Okay.
Very like basic 10-year-old dynamic for wrestling, right?
Well, The Undertaker's timeless. I remember, being, I was probably the same age that you were when The Undertaker first came out, when you were talking about the time that you're watching it. The Undertaker was a very big, boisterous, scary guy. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you have that. You have Rey Mysterio, the ultimate underdog. And then you have Cena, who, I don't care what anybody says. Cena is the man. I mean, he gave so much to the industry. He did so much with Make-A-Wish and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, you even have the past pay-per-view that just passed with Punk, doing the little tribute to him.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that that people are starting to back off Cena fans.
Right.
Now, Do you remember when you finally got to your first wrestling show?
It was around that time. It was another Raw.
Mm-hmm.
I went with my dad. I was probably around like 10 years old, and it was a Raw that I remember Edge was he did a promo on the Titantron, and I forget what the promo was, but I also remember I think one of the closing segments was uh something with the Nexus.
Okay.
So it was around that time period. And I remember just I was with my dad at the time, and I just remember being so glued to everything in the ring. I don't remember exactly everything that happened, but I remember just loving every moment there.
Now, at what point in time, because I'm betting if you're looking at that as something that you genuinely want to do, at what point in time do you start developing the Vinny Talotta persona?
Oh,
Because there has to be something that you start seeing where you're like, ooh, I could use that.
so it's interesting because this persona has developed over time. This persona isn't the same person really as I started with. And part of that is just me using my real life to be inspired of what I want to do in the ring. So when I first started, I was young. I was 16 when I first started training, and I was just trying to get into the door, being really respectful, just keeping my mouth shut and just doing what I can to
Hmm.
make people know who I am and like me. Um, as I got a little older and a little more into the like business,
Hmm.
I've gained more confidence in myself and started to believe in myself a little more. From there, like I had some stuff for end of high school. I had a nice senior trip to the Bahamas, and I kind of used that experience and brought it into wrestling and got a little more confident and cocky, a little more arrogant, and use that. And then I had to go to college. And then I brought that because I was able to use my social life and gain confidence there too, and just bring it into a stage of people. Because I noticed when I'm in front of people, I really come out of my shell a lot more, and I'm able to just really care about what anybody thinks and just be in the moment. But right now, God,
Oh, no, no, no. Keep going. Keep going.
but right now is another shifting point for me. Um, I had a really big opportunity in wrestling recently, a couple of months ago, which humbled me a lot. I was able to be around a lot of the top people in the industry, and I was very confident in myself, not in a bad way. I think I was a little overconfident, but when I didn't succeed at that opportunity, it kind of brought me down a peg, and it made me reassess my standing in wrestling.
That makes sense. It sounds like you had like your first really a chance to have your first growth opportunity from it.
That was my
Um,
first no.
that was your first no.
Yes.
And because I was going to say, I think because obviously you're new onto the scene, you're just kind of getting your foot into the door. I feel like in looking through your history, I can see a marked difference where on one side you kind of look like this guy that likes to party and have a good time, and then all of a sudden it seemed that you had this shift in character where you're using it like, I want to say, you look like you know you're worth more, and
Yes.
you look like you found a seriousness where at once there might not have been it.
So yeah, I think a big proprietor of that is COVID and the pandemic, actually.
Hmm.
because before that I was partying. I didn't have my priorities straight. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Once the pandemic happened, everything shut down, everything slowed down, and so did I. Kind of. I stopped working out. I wasn't able to wrestle, and I just kind of sat, and I didn't know what to do, and it kind of ate at me a little. Um, but there was one point in the quarantine where something just snapped, where something clicked in my head, and um, from that point on, I took everything super serious. I I started working out again. I started watching more tape. As soon as we were able to start training again, I never missed a training, and I was able to transform not only my mind, but I got my body into the best shape of my life, and I'm still doing that. And that's where that confidence came in and that seriousness. Um, but like I said, because of the one opportunity that I got that no on, it made me reassess again. I still had that confidence, but I remembered why I got into wrestling because I love it and it's so much fun. And I remember, and I just gotta stay in the moment because every time I'm in that ring, I'm having a really good time. And I don't want that seriousness to put like blinders on me and I just take it too serious and I just ruin everything that I've built so far.
Well, to me, kind of what I wanted to get at is you kind of went from someone who the last picture that you took, you look like a killer. And that looks like something that you gained,
Yes.
if that makes sense.
Yes.
And that's what I took from it. It was because you threw it up as your new profile pic at on Twitter, which this will have a thing for your Twitter on there.
Oh,
But
nice.
it but yeah, you just looked like a killer in this last picture, and that I think sets your tone going
Mhm.
forward.
Yeah, because a lot of like, so before I started wrestling, I did Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu for
Okay.
3 years. So I've always had that background, but I there was a point in my career where I was really showcasing it that much because I kind of gotten away from it. The quarantine made me revert back to that too and gain confidence there again because the type of training we've been doing is very physical, like how jujitsu or Muay Thai was. So I was able to like rekindle that spark too.
And I think it's telling, when you decide that you're going to go to, to a wrestling school or training, we or I'm guessing you're in the Philadelphia area
Yes.
thereabouts, and I am as well. So you have a lot of different schools to choose from.
Hmm.
And I feel like CZW especially is a place that has um you would expect it to be rigorous training. You would expect it because they have such a reputation.
Yeah. Like I believe our training system is one of the best. Like whenever I'm done training, I'm exhausted. There is never a day where I'm not sore, and that's a good thing. I feel like you come to training to work. This is where you work. You can go to the gym on your own time, you work there too, but you come here. It can be fun, but the bottom line, we need to get better.
And so when you decided to choose a school, why did you choose CZW in particular? What
So,
about them drew you to them?
so originally I was not from CZW. I started somewhere else.
Okay.
Um, I started at ECWA actually.
Okay.
I had my dad knew a, one of his friends is a wrestler, and he recommended ECWA, and I trained my first year there. Um, Unfortunately, their school did shut down for a period of time, and I didn't know where to go. But another wrestler actually recommended I go to CZW. And from my first class there, I never looked back.
Okay. So when you finally got there and everything, it sounds like you got there, and I see that you were on a lot of the dojo shows, which is something that I love that they do.
Mhm.
And if you haven't checked out a CZW dojo show, um, it's funny that all these wrestling companies do it. CZW's kind of been doing it for a little bit longer, if I
Yeah.
recall correctly.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of hidden gems on there. Like you'll see people that you see like on TV now on there, and it's such a great platform for people just trying, for wrestlers just trying to get their feet wet, because it's a great atmosphere to just do that on a smaller setting, but it still feels big to you.
So you said you saw it, you remember seeing it that first night and wanting to do it, but what was that moment where you actually decided that made you put money to paper?
So I don't know if I have an actual moment, but there was always this feeling of I want to be a professional wrestler. I want to be at WWE. And I remember, because I think I was around like 11 or 12 when I was that like starting to be really serious about, hey, I want to do this. But I didn't know where to train back then. I was looking at research stuff and I couldn't find anything. So the next logical step, I was talking to my dad about it when I was that young, was the Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu.
Makes
So
sense.
I did that from 12 to 16. And on my 16th birthday, I was eligible to start training at ECWA. So my birthday was a Tuesday, and their first class was a Thursday, and I was there.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, this is something. So what do you want to start seeing for Vinny Talotta? What kind of goals are you setting for yourself?
So right now, so the whole thing is that I'm up and coming. Not a lot of people know who I am yet. So my goal is to show people who I am. I'm 20 years old. I've been doing this for 4.5 years. Consider a good amount of experience.
Mhm.
And I know I'm one of the top prospects for being this young. I want to show people my worth and what I've been working on, because within the past 2 years, I've been putting in so much work. I'm one of the hardest working people from CZW, and I'm not saying that to be cocky, but it's a fact. And I'm ready to show people why that's a fact.
And it seems like from looking at, the upcoming and where you're from, it seems like they're putting a little bit of equity in you. What kind of goals are you setting for yourself in CZW now? What do you, because I definitely can see from, I can see that you have it and you want to go get it. You seem like the brass ring guy. So what are you setting for yourself?
So
Short term.
short term, definitely beat Freddie Yehai.
Okay.
That's a pretty big goal for right now. But after that, just I just want to be the best. I want to be the best one here. I want people, when they think about this new era of CZW, I want my name to be one of the first ones they think about, because like I'm the person who wants to do everything. I'm the person who wants to promote my matches. I'm the person who wants to do these interviews. I want to be the face of something, and I know I had that opportunity here. So I know for me, just making an impact every single time I'm in the audience face is a big goal of mine, whether that just be in the promos I do or the matches I have. Win, lose or draw, you're going to remember who I am.
Now, I'm a high school teacher, so there's a question that I usually give wrestlers that have been in the business for a couple years, but I decided to reverse it a few weeks or a little bit ago when I talked to Kat Spencer because she's new.
Mm.
Let's say that it is 2031. What do you want Vinny Talotta to remember?
As in,
When you're starting to feel like, you're starting to feel a little bit worn down, you feel like you might be pushing, but you're not getting whether the results are in you're already signed to a company and not getting where you want, or you're still trying to get there. What do you tell Vinny when he's ready just to kind of start breaking down or needing a break?
um, I want to be able to remember that moment where I started to take everything serious. I want to remember the mindset I was in and the work I did to get to where I am now, because like you can see from the Dojo War stuff, I'm not the same person anymore. I feel like I've grown, I've matured, and because of that, opportunities have started to come my way, and I just I just want myself to remember, no matter what happens, as long as you put the work in and you want it, things will come to you.
That's a great thing to remember. I hope that you remember it, and this will hopefully be up on YouTube and for a while. So if you get there and you need a reminder, try to remember this interview.
Definitely.
I want to say thank you, Vinny, for taking some time out to talk with me. We're going to get, like I said, I'm going to put the links to your social media up there. Also, if someone is getting ready to watch a match that you need to tell them who you are, I'm going to guess that last bit that you just did. Would that be it?
Yes.
Or so why don't you tell us a little bit about that last match and how that was?
So I wrestled Diego Hill the last match I had, so the first CZW show. That was a reintroduction to who I am. That was the first time the CZW audience has seen me since Dojo Wars, and it was a very good indicator of what I'm bringing to the table now. I'm more intense, I'm more aggressive, I'm more powerful. And if you don't believe that match, you're definitely going to want to tune in to see me versus Fred, because I seen him wrestle Griffin McCoy the last match or the last show. It was intense, but I'm not, no disrespect to Griffin, I'm not him, and I'm gonna bring it to Fred. I got stuff to prove to people, and I ain't gonna let that opportunity slip through my fingers.
My name is Mike, and I want to say thank you for listening to or watching that episode of The Wrestling Independent. Please give us a like, share, and subscribe, and where you can, leave a 5-star review. Please, we're always looking for feedback, so give us an email at thewrestlingindependent@gmail.com.